Yeah, okay. Every so often we get a new batch of homeless here, and you can always tell. Well, because I can tell just by looking at them. But when the new batches show up, and it could be like once a month, or a couple times a month. I don't know what it is, but I think they come from the airport and get dropped off in this area. Now, of course, this is a whole system where the state gets money for taking homeless from other states. Uh, it's not something that's talked about in the open, really, and I don't really have much to say about it because I like living here and I enjoy, being able to breathe and so I don't have much to say about it, and I can't say if that's a good or bad thing, but yeah, but we do get occasionally uh, a new batch. I'd say like at least one major batch uh, every month and a half. That's just I'm basing that on a non-scientific study that I did just now for that sentence. But when they show up here, they usually start by filling up the park here. There's a park up the street. They all kind of hang around there for a while until they figure out what they're doing. But as they kind of start moving around, you'll notice some of the guys, will start to try to test the limits of the people in the neighborhood. And I only thought of this because I was going to talk about something else, and then I was walked by some new homeless guy who was trying to, you know, see if he could push up on me. He can. None of them can. But it's funny to watch them try. So what happens is they'll come in the area and they'll try to figure out what's what, who they can. It's not. It's almost like a jail thing. They see who they can push up on. Um, Open this up. Speaking of a jail thing, and then there's others that are doing the "I'm crazy" thing, but it's bullshit. It's an act. This is where they walk around and scream. Now some of them are possessed demonically, and that's legitimate. And I can usually suss that out with a very simply. But for a lot of them, they're doing the "I'm crazy" thing because, and I'll tell you, as a real crazy person who spent time in hospitals, crazy people don't want attention. They don't want to be left alone. It's so hard to get those fuckers out of their room to just sit and do a workshop, like a half-hour workshop. They don't want to. They want to just stay in their bed. It's a lot of depression tied to it. They sleep a lot. Last thing they do is call the scene. The only time they'll call the scene is if they think you're doing something to them. There was this one guy we had, and he had a big problem with the 20-minute checks. 20-minute checks are basically, they come around with a checkboard. A checkboard? What the fuck is that? That's like a cross between a checklist and a fucking bulletin board. No, they come around with this little thing, and they call out your name. And they find you, wherever you are in the hospital. And they just say your name, and you don't have to say anything, you just kind of look over, and they check next to your name that you are there, you're aware, whatever. They do this every 20 minutes no matter where you are, even when you sleep, which makes sleeping kind of tricky. I'd just about be ready to sleep. When you're sleeping, they don't say your name, but they open your door and kind of look over you, see that you're there, and see that you're not, I don't know what they're looking for, really. For me, it seemed like they were just making sure you're present. There must be some insurance reason they have to do this, but every 20 minutes. So there was this one guy that every time they would do this, he would kind of freak out. And he would demand to know what the list was for and why he was on it. Some really deep paranoia type stuff. But that was rare. For the most part, no one's acting out because they're all kind of locked in their own little hell, in their own brain. Some of them are. I really wasn't. I was enjoying not having anyone be able to call me. But here there's a large percentage of them that come here and act out. And then you have like the jailbirds, like that guy who I encountered back there. I just basically ignore them. The thing to do here, and not just with the jailbirds, but with most people in general, if you're walking down the street or anywhere you are and you hear like, hey brother, hey, you don't want to turn around, because it's never going to be, hey brother, here's $10, or hey brother, let me give you some money. It's always like they want something from you, and it's kind of crazy, some of the stuff. Like, I could tell a lot of stories like that. The good ones I like is when, like, you'll be sitting somewhere, the car will pull up and they'll need a lighter, and they want you to get up, go over to the car, and light their fucking cigarette like a bitch or something. And they get so mad when you don't do this type of stuff, because I think they do get a lot of compliance here, because what it is it's a tourist area, and some of these Asian tourists will throw money at them to get them away from them, and I totally understand it. I don't have money like that though. So for me, I just gotta ignore them, because I tried to do the halfway thing, like, hey man, like, I acknowledge you're there. That's not good, because what that does is you open the door, and now they have their foot in it. The hey brother thing is they're knocking at your door, okay? You gotta just maintain the ignore. And I do that to comical effect. Like, the dude will be right beside me, and I'm not paying attention to him. Now, it could be something legitimate, but the odds of that being true are not very good. Maybe 1 out of 10 guys is, hey brother, your shoes hanging off, or you have something hanging out of your pocket. That has happened. But for the most part, when a stranger is trying to get your attention, it's for nothing good. It's just for something they want. Especially the jailbirds. They're the funniest, because I mentioned this before. They will throw out all these things. Like, they'll at the same time ask you if you are selling drugs, if you want to buy drugs, if you want to do some drugs for free, if you want to go to their friend's house. They're just trying to get you involved in any kind of thing with them and drugs. And a lot of times I'll say, no, I'm good, I don't smoke weed. And then, they'll just switch to another drug. Oh, you like this? And the reality of the situation is they don't have any drugs or any money or any friends. They're just trying to rope you into them. And as even just acknowledging people sometimes is enough for them to get their foot in the door. Whereas I used to be like, I used to try to go about it logically, but logic has no place in these islands in any capacity. So I'm like, oh no man, thanks, I'm good. I'm not buying any drugs. And then I'm already done, because I'm talking to them and then I'm walking with you. And that's it. So you gotta kind of just ignore people. It's too bad. If I tell you how crazy it is, one time, and I remember the guy. I'm walking with my wife, walking to her work. I think we were going to cash her check or something. And I had some bags with me. We're busy walking through front of International Marketplace. And we walked by this guy, and I was kind of aware of him. He was on my left, and he's like, yo, buddy, I need a lighter. Because he saw me smoking. Maybe not even. People just assume everyone has a lighter. So I just didn't even turn around. Kept walking. A couple weeks later, this guy comes up to me and starts telling me the story about this asshole he ran into who wouldn't give him his lighter. Me being the asshole. But I have fun with this kind of situation. So I went in 100% that this other guy wasn't me. And by the time I got to my destination, of course, he followed me the whole way, trying to, cause some kind of problem or get in some kind of fight. I was like, hey man, you can't let people like that get you down. They're good people in this world. He should have just given me his lighter. I'm like, I know, right? These fucking assholes, It's just a lighter. He could have just given you his lighter. What? God, man. Don't let it ruin your day. Dumb people are easy to get around. And a lot of the aggressors or the people that are going to give you a hard time or try to push up on you are fucking stupid. They really are. And, if you can't get around them, then God. So, yeah, there's a new batch of homeless people I'm noticing here. And you got to work through them. Eventually, they all disappear. And I have no idea why that happens or where they go, and I have nothing more to say about it. But they disappear. And, but you got to put up with them for a little while. And you got to figure out who your guys are. Like which ones are going to be okay, which ones you kind of have to just cross the street to get away from. Because, usually you can tell from far away. The karate kicker is a big meme here. We get the guy who's standing on the corner just doing these karate moves in the middle of the day, being very aggressive. You just fucking stay away from him. That's a big meme here. There's a lot of karate kickers here. I used to like to, whereas people would walk away from them or try to cross the street, I would walk right up, get in front of them, just to be an asshole. Kick me, But then, eventually one of these guys is going to take me up on it and kick me in the head. Probably as I'm walking by, because people only sucker punch here. I know how that is. So to trust that they're going to be reasonable is really not a good idea. So I just stay away from them now. They're easy. The thing is, it's not hard. It's not like other neighborhoods. I've lived in actually rough neighborhoods where you don't know who it is or where it's coming from until it's already happened. These guys fucking wear a giant neon sign around them that says potential problem. So you just know. You know how to stay away from them. I feel bad for the old women and kids here that have to put up with this nonsense. But they're always going to keep coming in because, I don't know why. Why would they keep coming in? I have no idea why. I enjoy my life, and I like... Now, it's part of the whole corruption thing that goes on here. It's the... it's what I call the Hawaii trifecta. There's 4 parts to it. If that sounds strange, it's Hawaii, so it would make sense. But a part of the 4-part Hawaii trifecta is corruption. There's a lot of corruption here, and I've come from the most corrupt state. I thought, being Massachusetts originally, it's where I was born. I didn't think you could get more corrupt than that. But whereas you have to kind of fake it or go through the theatricality of the crime. Like, for instance, say the Big Dig was like a big opportunity for a lot of people to make money through criminal means. What happened is, just as an example, I had friends that used to hit the little supply depots to steal equipment to then fence or move on to someone else. Now, the guys would be going in at night, they'd have the whole thing planned out, you'd wear certain clothes, all this stuff. This is what I'm told. But the thing is, even though you're doing this clandestine sort of Mission Impossible type of situation, the people that you're robbing know that you're robbing them. It's just a formality. And also, I think it works as a bit of whatever they call jail cover. If something was to go bad, you can say, well, I got robbed, you know what I mean? What is that word? Help me. Plausible deniability. Thank you. It gives them plausible deniability. But it was a show. You still had to do it, though. You had to go through the show to do whatever criminal thing you're doing. Here, they don't do that. They just do it straight out in the open. Because who's going to say anything? It's very, It's almost like the very deep South in America, where the cop will pull you over. He has complete autonomy over you. Like he can do anything he wants because he's friends with the judge and the judge friends with the cop. It's like that here, except for like Islander people, which I don't know. I think the U.S. government, who uses this place as an army base, I described a while ago in one of my old videos the way the structure works. Um, Basically, Islander people, like native Islanders, there's a couple guys that are using their own people to reap a lot of money. It's a warlord type of scenario. So the U.S. government, I'm sure, is like, hey, it would be too hard to maintain a sort of presence there to keep all this under control. What if we got like a guy that lives there, like a local type of guy, and give him, the ability to run this whole thing? And that's kind of what it is. So yeah, they fuck their own people over, but we've seen that throughout history, and that's kind of how it works. It's not all that interesting to me. It's just something to keep in mind when you wonder why things happen. Like when I first moved here, I was like, what the fuck? Why how is this allowed? How do you sell pieces of the sidewalk to different people? And it didn't take me too long to realize that there's no oversight here. You can basically just do whatever the fuck you want, and they don't have to follow federal law at all, and they don't most of the time. It's kind of just they make it up as they go along, and they do what they want. And no one's gonna like sue anybody here. You can't do that. You end up lighthouse, taken out to lunch. Yeah, so it's very deep south, like how that is. Nepotism, cronyism, whatever you want to call it. Which, of course, brings us back to this never-ending homeless dropout. When the new people show up, they have these carry bags, these travel bags, the rolling ones, and they always come up on this street over here. I'm in my building here, in my garage. This street on the left, right up here. I always see them come walking up, not this street, this is Alwai Boulevard. This next left here, they get dropped off somewhere around there. Because I always see them coming up that street with their black rollies, which I believe they must give them, And it's a win-win because it gets them out of their areas, and they come here, and some stick around for a while. I don't know how they decide which ones can stay and which ones can go. Some of them end up downtown in Chinatown. Actually, I think eventually they would all go there, depending on who gets to stick around, because there's a lot more drug activity there. There's a lot more ne'er-do-wells. The whole water finds its own level type of thing, and a lot of these guys that are in that. It's really sad when you see like older women, like around my age, in this predicament. The only problem is some of them are so far gone that like even just, you try to help them out. And I had done that kind of thing before. It always kind of ends up blowing up my face. But it's sad to see that kind of thing. But a lot of these guys are just, this is their lifestyle. That's what they do. They're nomadic. They live outside. That's what they want. It's not like a homeless situation because no one's looking for a home. In fact, I've had new guys here that got into housing and would be miserable. And they would sabotage their situation by having parties there, letting in the wrong people, just doing fucked up stuff in the building, and get kicked out and be super happy. because people like to say, no, man, I don't have this, or they like to be absolved of sort of any responsibility at all. And sometimes just having a PO box is too much for some people. They like to be able to say, no, I got nothing. It's weird to get into that kind of psychology, but that's like a comfort blanket to some people to say I got nothing. Um, it's a it's hard to think about when it's not what you consider optimal living. But for some people, it's just what they do, and it's all that they know. And for whatever reason, people have been allowed to fall through. Well, not for whatever reason. It's not a mystery. A lot of people fall through the cracks here in this country, and it's sad. But some people, a good percentage of them here, are jumping into the fucking cracks. I don't know.